Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of a new podcast by myself, Isabeau Salas, and my co-creator, Emma Jenkinson. It is called Equestrian Tea Time. Our intention with this podcast is we are going to dish about the equestrian industry. We are going to talk about our experiences, good and bad, and do what we can to contribute to the industry's improvement. Our first few podcasts here, we are going to talk about the essential and the dreaded working student position. We're going to talk to a few people and hear their working student horror stories. First out of the gate, Alicia Swinton, who is in California and an eventing writer and has both been a working student and has working students. After I listened to her, what struck me most was that she had left her own program, that she had a business going, that she had students, that she was very thoughtful, that she tried to make a good decision about making a move to advance her career by working with somebody who had a substantial business, a significant name, and a substantial competition history. And that after doing all that due diligence, the whole thing blew up in her face. And it ended rather ugly. When their relationship broke down and she was going to leave, the lady told her to get herself and her horse off the property immediately. And Alicia was forced to call the police. Don't be intimidated. She had mentioned about how when she was younger, she probably would have just rolled, probably would have just slept in her truck and crawled away. She had the presence of mind and maturity to try to stand up for herself when things fell apart.
I've had a lot of good experiences, but I've also had some negative ones. And the negative ones tend to be from, I'm in eventing. So 5-star eventers, upper level eventers that have a name, and they basically build their business on in a way, I'm not saying they don't work hard, but on the backs of other people, getting promised a stipend, and you're moving down there to have a certain position. And I think I went 2 or 3 months was supposed to be working 5 to 6 days a week, 8-hour days, ended up always getting called in on the day off, working 10, 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And I think it took them 2 months to give me my first lesson, and I didn't get paid. So
2 months. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, things like that you're just, unless you're on them about it, which then you're kind of at that, younger and intimidated to say something, you're not getting what was promised. And they have them like clockwork. They just have these young people coming in that are just basically running the facility, tacking up all the horses, doing all the turnout, doing all the blanketing, and they are using them in a way. I mean, as horrible as that sounds.
And we were just talking about like stars. When you first go into that and you're looking for a higher level position, you're starstruck. You haven't seen $100,000 horses or $10,000 saddles or.
Yep, that's very true. You are starstruck, and you don't want to be the one to say something, but it's so wrong. It's so wrong. And for me, I was never somebody that had money behind me. So like some of these girls could be there and their parents pay their way, and it didn't matter for them getting a stipend. Like they were just happy to be there and getting to work around these horses. But I had to pay my own bills. How do people survive? How can people do this, working 10, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and you're not getting the stipend you were promised? You get a free place to live. They did do that. They let you live in this like RV with other girls for free. And the horses board was free, but the stipend they promised and the lessons, no. And the lessons eventually they did, but you had to be like on them about it. And it's just sad. And nobody says anything because everybody is too afraid to speak up because you're going against this person that has a name and a reputation. And
What do you think you would say to help new people in the industry, to help them avoid bad situations?
Oh, I would say the best thing to do is to try to get references from other working students. If you can't in secret, like not where it's on Facebook and it's public. It's if you know somebody that knows somebody, ask them if they got what they were promised out of it, the hours they worked, all of that. I mean, everyone understands you're going to have to work overtime, their horses, things happen. But it wasn't that situation because there were really good trainers. I left that barn after trying it for 6 months. I ended up leaving there and going to another 4-star trainer with everybody still knew her name. She's not as like one of the popular girls. And she a lesson every day. Didn't have to ask, free place to live, free board for the horse, and a lesson every day.
Yeah.
And she was upfront with not paying you. So I would say, yeah, references, reputation. Do they go through a lot of working students? Because if I would have known that, I would have looked at the fact that this trainer was always posting for them, like every few months, we need more working students. And so you're kind of wondering, why do they have so much turnover? Yeah.
That's definitely a red flag that I notice. If you follow the boards or the pages for several months, you'll see these people look over and over again. Yep. It's a good point you make about people who are not as well known often giving you a better deal in terms of they're more grateful to have students and they treat them better, whereas it seems that people higher up the food chain just
they know they can get away with it.
Yes.
And I think the other biggest thing is looking at who they produce. Because if you look at the riders like that basically they are 5-star riders, they're huge, they have a name. You don't see them producing a lot of young riders. You don't see a lot of people coming up under them. The other ones, they produce tons of young riders. So that was another thing that I kind of realized after the fact was, well, this other trainer, she produced tons of young riders and the other one had not. So that's, I think, another good sign that they are putting in the work and all of that, that if they have a lot of successful students, then they're taking the time to do that.
Yes. A very good green flag. Do they have other students people who they've actually produced? I noticed that a few decades ago, somebody would say, well, so-and-so used to work for famous person. And I would think, yeah, but they have 100 people a year in their barn and one person every 10 years. You know, do they turn out some really good professional? So that's got to be, they go through about 1,000 people before somebody comes through there and really succeeds well. And people seem to think there's still that. I was told when I was younger, well, that's because, you know, all those, they're just not up to the standard. I'm like, if I was a trainer and I got 1,000 horses in and I only managed to train one, people would say I'm not a very good trainer. If only one out of 1,000 working students succeeds, for some reason, people find that an acceptable percentage.
Exactly. I don't understand that. And I know that this particular trainer is not, I mean, she does tons of clinics. So she is known for teaching as well, tons of clinics, and she's great at teaching clinic, I know I'm not the only one. I know I got hired the same time as another girl and we both went through the same thing together and she quit before me. I stuck it out longer.
I had one experience like that where the girl quit the same week and then she had to come pick me up so I could leave.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And then the way this whole thing ended was insane. Yeah, it went really sour when it did end. And I actually had to have my brother come there and like chaperone me out. I had to call the police. Insane. That's a long story for another day, but I actually had to have the police there to chaperone me to make sure that she didn't do anything because she was mad that I wasn't going to work, basically is what it kind of came down to. I was like, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. You're just basically abusing people. I've been asking for this, and this for this long. And she's like, well, then get your stuff out today. And I said, drove my truck down here with my rig with horse. I have nowhere to go. Not going to force me after I worked for you for free for 6 months. And so I called the police. She was like, yes, I am. And the police were like, you can't force her to get out. She gets mail here. You have to give her a proper notice if it's not working out. So just that kind of shit is like the fact that they get away with that. And the politics in this sport all around. I mean, everybody knows it. Even you can go down horse abuse. You can go down all the lists of topics. The politics in this sport need to be addressed. Just because somebody is cool and has a name, we can't keep covering for that. We can't keep being afraid to say something.
Yes, for sure. Honestly, it never occurred to me, but I like your call the police. At least one scenario where I totally should have done that and I did not. I would recommend that as a general thing to working students. Do not be afraid to call the police.
And I think
it's sad to say, but
it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And if I had been younger, like 18, I probably would not have. I probably would have just been a pushover and gone and scurried and slept in my truck or done whatever. But I think I was mid-20s and I was giving this a shot thinking this was going to really excel my career to work for this lady. And she promised me actually to be an assistant barn manager, something like that. And I got down there and I was just basically a glorified working student. And so that was the start of it. But if I was not a little older, I probably would not have had the guts to do it. I knew better. Like, you know, you have a little age and a wisdom. And my brother was a lawyer and I called him first. And he was like, that's totally illegal. You've been living there. You've been working there. She can't just tell you to get out in an hour. It's wild. It's kind of crazy.
All right. Well, this is giving me a good idea. Emma, a good place for you and I to start. We could make just a list of 10 things, your rights as a working student.
And like if I had known, I now know since I rent a room out of my house that there's like rights for people if you check into your state for it. And
I don't feel like it's that hard. I know these operations get so big they have 50 horses in training or 40, and honestly they don't even ride them all. They just take the money and Dick Ann and Joe ride them. But that's again another topic for another day. But I don't feel like it's that complicated. So when I hire working students, I say, here's the deal. You work a normal this hour day, you get a free lesson, period. End of story. If you work a half day, it equals 7 hours to get a lesson or whatever the deal is. Some people it's different. They lease a horse for working 2 days a week and their hours can range from 4 to 8 hours a day. We don't know. It depends on the day, but you get a free lease and the price never changes. And I feel like it's not that hard to just do what you say you're going to do.
Now that you're in a position to be bringing working students on, that some of them are really wanting a lot in exchange for very little time put in?
Honestly, not that often at all. I don't know if I've just been very lucky. I feel like I have always had a really good group of people and working students. I think the biggest challenge I find as a trainer hiring working students is people that don't have enough experience. That is kind of a weird zone because if they have a lot of experience, usually you're going to pay them. And if they don't have a lot of experience and they want to work to get more experience, usually that's kind of they don't know a whole lot to be a huge benefit. But I've done a lot of where I'll take them on if they know X, Y, and Z, and then I'll train them the rest of the way under the, agreement that they have to work 8 hours for a lesson until they're trained to do all this stuff without me watching them, without me assisting them. And then once they're there, it's every 5 hours they get a lesson. And they are usually totally fine with that because they want to learn. But I'd say that's the biggest challenge I run into is, them not knowing enough.
That is true. I mean, there's a Goldilocks zone. So when people look for working students or interns, you're looking for somebody who has enough experience, but obviously if they've got too much, a lot of people are specifically getting working students because they don't want to be paying somebody $50,000 a year. On the other hand, I see working student positions that I can tell the list of skills includes can handle stallions, can start young horses, has ridden at least this level, jumps at least 3'6", can give IV shots, drive a truck and trailer, track the ring, bush hog. I mean, and that's for me, that's one of the biggest red flags. When they make a list of skills that only a professional barn manager should really be able to do.
They want it for free.
Yes. I'm like, that's like, I mean, it's not reasonable that a working student, somebody might have, maybe they came up in the industry and they have some specialist skills, but the people who have these incredibly long, 17 skills long of all this stuff, for me, that's usually a big red flag. I'm like, I know that person is probably really looking for somebody they can run into the ground.
They're looking for somebody to take advantage of. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you should be paying them because they're worth their weight.
Last internship would have saved me a lot of trouble.
Since you're looking for working students, what is a list of skills that you need? What is the Goldilocks zone? When you're looking for people to have a minimum skill set, what is that skill set?
They have to know how to tack up. They have to be comfortable. I do eventing, so they have to be comfortable handling some hotter horses. If they know how to Pessoa, which is, a piece of equipment in lunging, that's a huge plus. But if they don't, that's okay. But at bare minimum, like they should feel comfortable lunging. I don't mind teaching them how to put different equipment on, how to fit its purposes and what it should help the horse accomplish. So that's where there's those gray areas. But the bare minimum, they need to be able to be comfortable handling horses, lunging them, tacking them up, untacking, rinsing them, and just basic knowledge. If I go and walk by a horse and they're down and out, do you know that they're sick? That's ideal.
Gotcha.
But I have taken on somebody that had absolutely no experience, and she's still with me 7 years later, and she's
Oh,
one
wow.
of my best working students. She works to lease one of my horses, and she works her lessons off. She works 2 days a week, and she's just the sweetest thing. She had absolutely no experience, and I just had a feeling
Wow.
about her that she really wanted it. And I told her, I said, you can volunteer here. Like, literally didn't even know how to put a halter on.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you can volunteer here for, I think I told her like 6 months and learn. And if you want to then keep going, I'll start to teach you stuff and you can become a working student to work off lessons. And she's been rolling ever since. And she's so grateful, and she's a great worker. She has a little like ADHD, like sometimes her mind goes faster than she can move, but she really wants it. And I think when you treat people right, that they stick around. Like, you don't have to worry about them burning out.
Yes, for sure. So for your more difficult working student experiences yourself, did you learn, was it in the long run, was it worth it? I guess I could say there's two different points. Was it worth it horsemanship wise, or was it worth it just so you learn how to stand up for yourself? Was it worth it in any way for those more difficult situations?
I don't know. Good came out of it. At first I was livid. Because I literally uprooted. I closed my riding school down. I sold off half of my things. Yeah, this was like a big, you know what? I really want to step my game up. And I think she's offering this position. If I think I go down there for a year or two and I just get all this experience from this 5-star, rider that's waitlisted for the Olympics and blah, blah, blah. And I interviewed quite a few trainers too. And I mean, several, one that had been in the Olympics, another one that again was waitlisted for the Olympics. And I chose her barn because she was up and coming and was going to be on the up and coming Olympics. And I just thought it was the best thing. And so in hindsight, I got nothing out of it. Not really. Just a lot of anger, but it did lead me to other opportunities. I went and wasn't ready to give up yet. So I found another trainer that still had the position open that I talked to before I took this position. And I learned a lot from her, and she was a great mentor, and she still is someone I can call if I need advice or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, I think you get something out of it.
So aside from getting personal references, what else can we think of? So if you were to imagine an imaginary working student who was eyeballing this particular person's program and they were very attracted to being a working student there, what could we tell them that would help them get enough information to, at least, if whether they avoid it or not, at least get a good idea of what it is they're stepping into? The problem that I run into is that it's just hard for me to explain to people, and it's terrible to say they're less than half my age now. Exactly, until you've been through it, it's hard to, explain. So I struggle to try to get their vision focused in so that they can see what it is they're walking towards.
And you might even tell people that you could tell them, no, that's horrible, and they're still going to do it because they have to learn for themselves. But I think I actually had a trainer at the time who helped me with this decision and all of that. And she told me to go to the other trainer. She said, she didn't say specifically why, but she said that other trainer, she's known for mentoring people and bringing along riders. And I hemmed and hawed at it, and I decided to go with the big fancy name trainer. And so listen to people that have been in the business, listen to people that know. If you can get references, I think that's huge, because if anybody ever asked me, I would obviously be very honest and tell them not to work for that person. I was not shy about that at all. And just see their track history. If they're always hiring, that's not a great sign.
Yes. No, that's something I would like to see normalized, is employers. That's a good way to figure out whether somebody that you're going to work for is a good deal or not. Just ask them for references from other employees. They will turn to ice. If they don't have anything good to say, they will start to flubber around pretty quick when you ask them for a referral.
More than just the one person they brought up, like you said, the one person they brought up out of 10 years.
Yes, the one who managed to survive.
Yes, because you don't want that person's opinion, because they're going to preach them to anybody. So
yes. Any other advice or suggestions that you have, Alicia, before we let you go?
Another one, go to somebody who teaches a lot of people that age. That
Gotcha.
teaches, you know, a lot of people that age, or teaches a lot in general. If you're going to someone that's mostly just a rider, they probably aren't that like-minded in what they're trying to do.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I think
we
that's
want to
helpful.
make it, and we want to make it worth your time for you to show up here. So do you want to provide any contact information or anything for folks to get in touch with you if they're looking for your working student program or looking for somebody to train their horse? You have a website, or are you on Facebook or TikTok? Okay. Go ahead.
All of those fun things. So my email is just my name, Alicia Swinton @gmail. And website is basically the same thing, aliciaswintonequestrian.com.
You're in California. Emma, did you have any other
Sacramento area?
Gotcha.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions, Emma, before we
No, I
let
look forward to seeing your TikTok. If you start one, let us know.
Yeah, if there's a link to this, send it to me and I'll post it on there.
All right, cool.
Yeah, we will.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
It was awesome to meet you, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. That was very nice of you.
You are so welcome. We need something like this.
All righty.
Have a good day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.